podcast, Leszek and I will be talking with Sandro Pelaez about innovation in financial services and leadership in tech. Could you give us a brief overview of your career and maybe highlight some key milestones or experiences that shape your journey to becoming a Chief Product Officer at IMTF?
Yes, perfect. Thanks, Leszek. So, I think I'll start probably with my studies because I think that big impact on my career. So I studied mechanical engineering, and during my studies, I did some internships because I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life and my career. And then I discovered the world of consulting, but specifically consulting in the tech area. And I started with Accenture doing basically digital transformation consulting after my studies. And very soon I started working in financial services, which initially I didn't like the idea. As a mechanical engineer, you can imagine, I wanted to work with cars and the airplanes and things like that. And then we had transactions and financial transactions instead. But to be honest, it was a wrong first impression. When I started working in this world, I realized that it's actually an amazing world. A lot was happening. And the rest is history because I basically stayed in that industry for the last 15 years. So first 10 years at Accenture, 5 years, more or less 5 years in Switzerland, another 5 years in Singapore, which was one of my major milestones as we discussed. This international exposure had a big impact on my career. And then I decided to move to the product side. So consulting was fun. I love it. And honestly, I could imagine myself going back at some point. I think it's an amazing world and gives a lot of opportunities. But then I decided I wanted to try the product world. So I got this opportunity at IMTF. And I've been now with IMTF for 5 years. I'm heading the product department as the CPO. And it's a lot of fun, different world than consulting, and equally entertaining, and with a lot of challenges.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about your role as the Chief Product Officer. What are your main responsibilities? Can you also tell us a bit about your team and how you work together with the people that report to you?
Yes, of course. So, as a CPO, I'm basically responsible for defining a product vision for the company, a strategy for the product, and with that comes also a roadmap. And of course, making sure that it is aligned with the company's mission, values, and goals. I manage a team of 15 product managers, designers, engineers. And I would say some of my main tasks are really very people-focused and ensuring that we have a culture of collaboration, of innovation. Customer centricity is really at the core of our values at IMTF. So ensuring that my team really lives these values and develop in this direction. So my team steers and overlooks the whole product development for IMTF with around 150 engineers. So you can imagine that is one of the major challenges for a team to ensure that we're all rowing into the same direction and doing things according to the product vision, which of course can change every once in a while. So this agility is very important as well. We collaborate a lot with internal and external stakeholders. You can imagine sales, marketing, customer success, partners, customers even. Customers are very important. That's also where the biggest changes to the roadmap happen. That's the people using our software, and they have really good inputs and feedback. So we try to integrate customer feedback really actively into our roadmaps and prioritization.
Mm-hmm. Could I do a follow-up question to that, which is basically, who would be your biggest or most important sparring partner? Are these people from sales, marketing, or maybe customer success? Who do you work? Who's your closest sort of sparring partner?
No, it's a good question. I wouldn't now put one as the most important. The product realization is in the center of the company, right? So we are producing a product that at the end of the day needs to be able to be taken up by sales. So obviously, sales is a big sparring partner, so they need to be able to sell this product to our customers. But on the other side, we have, for example, R&D, the whole engineering department, which we are responsible for prioritizing their roadmap and so on. We have customer support, also again post-sales support. This is very important as well at the end of the day, because that's where the people responsible for making our customers happy. We have professional services in IMTF as well. So as you might have seen, IMTF doesn't only deliver a product, but we also help our customers, the partners, implement projects. So we see professional service is a big sparring partner as well. So you see, there is many different sparring partners, and maybe last but not least as well, our partners. So we have a broad network of partners that implement projects with our product, and of course they are also heavily involved in the discussions.
And we covered many details of your responsibilities, how the team is structured, but we haven't really talked about IMTF. So could you provide an introduction to IMTF for our listeners? What is the company mission? You've mentioned the company mission. What are the key product services you guys offer? And maybe how does IMTF impact the financial services industry?
Absolutely. Well, so IMTF's mission is really to empower financial institutions to navigate I would say, complex and dynamic regulatory landscape, right? And try to protect them, try to protect their reputation and assets, and enhance their customer experience. And we do so by providing a comprehensive anti-financial crime platform. So it's by comprehensive, I mean it's really a one-stop shop for compliance needs at a bank. We include solutions that address very important topics at banks, like anti-money laundering, counter-terrorist financing, KYC or know your customer, sanction screening. So maybe you have heard, I mean, especially after the Russian war, sanctions were really at the top of the priority for all financial institutions. Nowadays, a lot is happening around fraud prevention. I think with the incursion of AI, of generative AI, we have seen as well a rise in fraud, and that's definitely as well a focus point. So you see, it's really one solution to address all these different compliance needs. You asked about the impact on the industry. So, well, the industry, if we look at it from a historical perspective, has changed a lot in the last 30 years, I would say. So we come from a very, the classic banking at the end of the 80s, 90s, where basically was most of the business went on offline. Computers started already picking off. But there was also not a lot of surveillance. There was not a lot of checks and balances in the industry. And, that happens in the early 2000s, where we run into a financial crisis. We had different terrorist attacks as well. 9/11 was a big impact. And all these happenings really shaped the industry for the years after. And that's why regulators have become more and more active in trying to enforce the law and the rules. And banks need to be more careful nowadays than they were 30 years ago in ensuring that they are doing also good for the society. Financial services is really the core of the society. Everything runs through financial services. So it's really important that they behave in a way that helps the society.
Sure. Well, I also believe that besides the events that occurred, there's also this one big event, which is financial services, or basically the financial infrastructure, at least to my understanding, were not really designed for the internet. And that also sort of like triggered an avalanche of problems that didn't exist in the past. That's at least my understanding. That the redevelopment of the internet, specifically in the 90s, also changed a lot, and the scale or the volume of things that materialized. It was not central anymore, or become even less centralized. And would you agree with that point of view, or how do you see that?
You're absolutely right, Leszek. So, yes, I mean, the digitalization of the banking industry has had a huge impact as well on how banking is used. I've been doing that, as I said before, almost 15 years. The speed at which things have moved has been incredible. If we imagine, I mean, when we were kids, there were the first mobile phones, and back then banking was mostly done offline. Then e-banking started, access to e-banking via mobile phones, and then the first fintech or purely digital banks started to appear as well. And you're right. I mean, many banks that have been around for very long, which are very substantial for our economies, they were struggling with adoption, and some of them are still struggling with adoption of technologies to some extent. But I have to say, most banks have really taken the challenge very well, and they've been advancing a lot. There is a lot of what we call legacy around in this world, which comes out of this very rapid development, and it's true that this has an impact on what can be done and what cannot be done nowadays in banks. So if you look at this new fintech, that purely digital banks, it's true that of course they have been built up from scratch without any tech legacy, and they are a different kind of speed when it comes to adoption of new technologies.
Okay, let's get technical then, or just dive into the tech side of things. How is technology in the financial sector distinct from other industries? We touched on that subject the last time we spoke, and I'd like to get a little bit deeper in that. What unique challenges or opportunities do you encounter when developing tech solutions for finance?
Absolutely. Well, I think from my perspective, I think financial services industry in terms of tech has some differences to other industries. Maybe some other industry will share some things as well with other industries probably. First of all, I would say it's highly regulated. So there is other industries as well that are highly regulated. Financial services is one of the industries that is highly regulated, which means technology solutions must comply with rules and standards. There is rules around data privacy, security, and transparency. So this is definitely has a big impact on how to develop new software, because we need to always go through these quality checks to ensure that we are also compliant with the regulators. Then I would say the highly regulated part, and maybe to come, you said challenges and opportunities. I think this also is helping us. I mean, due to this high regulation as well, there is opportunity for us to bring software that helps with these regulations. So this is one of the things which we as a company as well benefit from. Regulation is actually good in terms of driving, in this case, of driving technology for making a more secure financial sector. Then it's very competitive. As a financial services sector, there is others as well that are very competitive. Financial services is really competitive, and this means that the technology solutions that we provide need to create some value. We cannot just produce any software that is shiny and fancy, but it needs to be creating value for the financial services industry. It needs to be differentiated from competitors and create really a competitive advantage. It also forces us to keep on our toes. So again, on the we say opportunity side, it is telling us on a daily basis, hey, we need to innovate, we need to bring in new stuff, we need to try to improve our processes every day. So that's probably pros and cons again from the board. It's dynamic. So despite I just said before, some parts of it are slow, and now I'm coming with opposite. It's dynamic. Actually, despite it or some of the things being slow, the industry is changing at incredible speeds in the last years. If we think about the incursion of blockchain, of online trading platforms. During COVID, do you remember there was these trading platforms taking over parts of the market from one day to another. And this is all things that are being enabled by technology. So a lot is happening. But also, on the other hand, we have a big complexity and diversity in the industry. So we have all different sizes of banks. Some of them move faster, some of them move slower. Some of them are big, have a big transaction volume, need to be high performing. Some of them are maybe smaller private banks, are still working in a very slow fashion. Some of them are still working on-prem, and back to tech. On-prem is still in big portions of the world is still predominant, although there is a big move to the cloud happening in the last 10 years. But some of them are fully on cloud, digital. So you see there's this big dynamics and complexity happening in this market. And this is on one hand a challenge, because of course we want to be able to address most of these different banks and the different phases of their business. On the other hand, again, I would see it as well as an opportunity. If we innovate fast, we can also help them advance and provide added value in the market.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Before we talk about the future, could you tell us a little bit more, highlight maybe some specific solutions to prevent financial crime? I mean, it's very interesting for me, myself. I've been working at AML, or meaning anti-money laundering unit, one of the banks in the past. So, like, it's personally interesting for me to talk about some solutions that you guys use. To a degree, of course, you can share.
Yeah, of course. No, I think I can share quite a lot. Well, if you have been working in the AML, then you know some of the challenges, right? So, in my view, and that's my personal view, nowadays in 2024, to fight financial crime, we need what we call a collaboration between three agents, really. We have on one side, we have, of course, top-notch financial crime professionals. So professionals that really know what they're doing and know how to detect financial crime, but they need to be supported by technology, because without technology nowadays, as we just were discussing before, there's just too much happening out there. So they need a digital platform, data-centered platform, which is highly configurable to be able to adapt it to their needs. And so this would be the second pillar. And the third pillar, this has come really, we have been working on that for the last 8 years, but it has really become very important, really since ChatGPT was launched, which is AI. AI is probably the future of financial crime prevention. Nowadays, it is really helping in combination of a rule-based kind of digital system and this, of course, the professionals. And I see this combination of these three components really working on financial crime. Maybe to bring an analogy on AI, right? So we are talking now about this hybrid approach, and if we take an analogy, for example, with cars, we come from gasoline cars. And already I remember when I was studying mechanical engineering, and you see here my background coming up again. We were already discussing that the future are electrical cars. And I think there is pretty much no doubt out there that electrical cars are a big part of the future. But we weren't able to move directly to electric cars. We had to go through some hybrid approach first. That's when all these Prius came out, the hybrid cars, and they have been dominating part of the market for the last 10, 15 years. And now slowly the electrical cars are taking over. And the same I see really in this tech. We see rule engines have been the classical way of addressing financial crime. We know probably AI is going to take over some part in the future, but we are not ready for it yet. The technology is not ready yet to fully take over what a rule engine and a digital platform can do. So that's why at the moment, at least for the next few years or many years, we will see this combination of rule engines and AI.
Interesting. So my understanding is that it impacts the financial crime prevention from both sides. One is helping sort of prevent, but is also a tool for the criminals to actually enhance their operations. That's at least my understanding of that.
You are absolutely right. And I say always, I mean, at the end of the day, it's an arms race, right?
Exactly.
With criminals, people sometimes think about them like these students in their free time hacking computers. Criminals are highly professional, really enterprises, and they know what they're doing. And it's always really a fight trying to find the latest technologies and trying to fight it. It's, for me, incredibly interesting to try to keep up and try to find the new ways how they're using. But it's true that it's we are at the end of the day, everyone is cooking with water, and it always depends who is capable of adopting the new technologies quicker and being able to move on quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to shift the gears a bit and talk about mergers and acquisitions. We touched on that the last time we spoke, and I want to sort of deep dive into that. And my specific question is, how, because IMTF has some experience with mergers and acquisitions, maybe you had some experience with that in your previous career, and I want to manage what is your experience, advice, or maybe good practices for integrating different organizations' cultures post M&A. This is difficult, but it's important to ensure, that the success is there. So I'd like ask you for advice in that field.
Sure, Leszek. So I think it's a really interesting topic. Indeed, IMTF has gone through 3 acquisitions since I joined it, and this is part of our bet on investing into new technologies and growing the platform. And even previously in my career as a consultant, of course, I've been participating in quite a lot of mergers and acquisitions or post-merger integrations. And as you say, it's not an easy topic. It's always difficult. I would say for me, and you mentioned that in your question, culture. For me, people are always the core of a merger and acquisition, and the most challenging part. But also they are the enablers at the same time. So I think for me, best practices, of course, starts with the due diligence before the merger and before the acquisition. Is the company, the culture of the company, can it be adopted? Does it make sense together with the company? So apart from all the NPV calculations that happen in a merger as well, it's important to look at does the company, the people, will it be possible to integrate?
The values, things of that sort.
Exactly, very, very, very precise, Leszek. And then once a merger decision is done, it's really about working together with the people. And at the end of the day, I also still learn on a daily basis. So the last big merger we did 1.5 years ago, in my view, it was a very smooth merger. Of course, not without problems. There was cultural clashes. We had 2 companies, mainly based in Switzerland and one based in Germany, which you could think, hey, culturally seen is not that different, but there are differences, of course, in the company culture. And I would say the culture that we have today is different from what both of the companies had previously. So we have created a new culture out of this combination, and I think that's the important part of it. I think if you ask me, important thing is, well, talk to people, involve people from both sides to shape the new processes, the new company, how the company behaves, and keep adapting. It's this continuous improvement, and that's a culture that we have been living every time. Is this continuous improvement? Continuously look at, okay, what went wrong? What do we want to improve? How can we improve it? Let's involve the people, talk about different ways, and step by step keep improving that. I think that will be the some of the more. And again, I mentioned again, but I always repeat this. It's talking, communicating, and listening to the people. I think this is really important along the whole process.
To your point about people being enablers of the success, but also it's that people problems. One of the sentences I've heard in one, I don't know if I read it or I heard it, but it was basically that the problems, the majority or 90% of the problems when it comes to mergers and acquisitions or mergers specifically is people-related problems. It's 10%. It's these are systems, data, but actually the most of the effort goes to dealing with fear, empowerment, context or lack thereof, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Any specific advice when it comes or things that you attribute success to in your past acquisitions? I know you guys acquired, for example, Siren Compliance and from AML from FICO and many other companies in the past. And I was wondering were there some key things, key tactics that actually work from you? If you could be more specific than talking with people, which is obviously the key thing. But bring all hands meeting. I don't know what did work for you guys.
Absolutely. I think I can go get more concrete on that. I can tell you some of the things that worked. For example, one thing that, in my opinion, worked very well is mixing teams. This is one of the mistakes that I had done previously, trying to keep the teams. You say, look, we have working teams. Let's keep them as they are and try to not move people around. In my opinion, if you're trying to create a new company culture, that really doesn't work in the long term. So one thing that we did is really mix the teams, shuffle it around, say, look, we're going to now take out of 2 separate teams, we're going to now make again 2 teams, but with mixed people from each side. That is, it creates some conflict, right? Because you're enforcing this conflict early on, and you're trying to find solutions, and you're better off in the long term if you do that early in the process. So that was one of the things that we have done. Then I think what we also ensured is that we have people from both sides in key positions. So it's important to acknowledge that both sides, when you do a merger or acquisition, at the end of the day, there is a reason why you do the merger, and a big part of this reason is people. So you also need to acknowledge that. So something that some mistakes that I've seen in the past is to say, look, since we are acquiring the other company, we are going to leave the whole management and middle management in the acquiring company, and everyone in the acquired company will just report into that. It usually, in my opinion, that's not an ideal situation. Usually you want to find a way of bringing these people in, because of course there is some connections, personal connections that have been built over the years, and it always helps to have this middle management involved as well in important decisions. And you mentioned all hands. The communication, that's one big part, right? And this is something, honestly, I'm sure we could have done better as well. And this is one of the things that always we hear as feedback, and we try to improve on a daily basis. It's very complicated, of course. You're growing as a company, and that's another part of the challenge. So it's not only that you have different cultures, but also we doubled our size in the company, meaning the channels that worked previously didn't work anymore. So we had to come up with this new series of town halls, all hands. We started doing, for example, weekly demos, company-wide demos of the different teams, where they would showcase the last sprint's deliverables, features, so that everyone in the company would get involved and they say, oh, that team is working on that specific thing. I didn't know that. So we had all of these new learnings out of these meetings. And I think that helped also to create this culture of belonging, that everyone got involved somehow into the different parts of the company.
Mm. Very, very interesting. I can only imagine this is really challenging process to lead. Finally, I'd like to talk about leadership. And specifically, what is your approach to leadership? Can you share some core principles that guide your leadership, or basically describe your style of leadership?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I will maybe start with the basics, right? I mean, in my view, as a leadership, especially in a position like a chief product officer, one of the most important things is to share a vision for the company, for the product, for the future, being able to inspire the company with this vision. And with the vision always comes a strategy, how to actually, should this vision be implemented to align, as I said before, also with the company values, with the mission, and that helps coordinate actions, right? But along with a vision and a strategy, I think this is only the starting point. Then, of course, one of the main focus points is in the execution. And it is important, and I have to always put a lot of weight on that, to stay consistent in the execution of the strategy, try to be transparent, and demonstrate results early on, but also continuously.
Right.
To create also this belonging. And in order to do so, and that's, I think, again, the most important thing, and I've said it before, is people. And I think in order to be able to execute, you need to have people on board. So this is really, if I think about what I do, most of my gray hair comes from focusing on people and ensuring that the team can do their work with their best capabilities, building relationships with people, trying to live as well by example with showing the values, but also having some of the tough discussions with the people. But at the end of the day, it's all about empowering the team, a very capable team, to do their work in the best way possible. I think maybe one of the big things that and my personal learnings or my personal focus points to be able to achieve all this is learning. I think it's something that I value a lot. I enjoy learning, and I enjoy learning on a daily basis. Nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. I do mistakes on a daily basis, but I really trying to learn on a daily basis, trying to listen to people, getting feedback, and improving on a daily basis. Sometimes we do one step forward, sometimes we do a step back, but it's important to keep this continuous improvement as well on a personal basis, to try to be a better leader at the end of the day.
100%. On a related note, you mentioned that international exposure. At the very beginning, you mentioned that it has been one of the crucial factors in the career. How has working in different countries and cultures influenced your professional development and approach to leadership, if that's the case?
Thanks, Leszek. So that I was looking for that question, and I think this has been very impactful in my career. And so, as you know, I grew up in Spain, moved early on to Switzerland. I've been studying, during my studies, I spent time in Sweden, Japan. I worked 5 years in Asia.
Japan, right?
I worked as well in Japan, exactly. I had some projects in Japan, and I worked in Singapore for some years.
Singapore, yeah, sure.
I think, of course, this had a big impact on a personal level. And to be honest, I would recommend to everyone to have this experience. I know you have been also, you have also had international exposure, and probably you can confirm that. But on a professional level, I think it has profound impact. And some of the important factors that I learned was to acknowledge that there are different cultures, different ways of working, and that there is not one size fits all. There is you need to adapt at the end of the day to the context where you're working in. And at the moment at IMTF, we have I would say over 40 nationalities working in the company, and I don't think I could work as efficiently with all these people if I wouldn't have had that background and understanding as well, how different cultures interact.
Nice. Sandro, thank you for the wise words and sharing our experience. It's been a pleasure.
Better Tech Leadership powered by Brainhub. Follow Leszek on LinkedIn and subscribe to the Better Tech Leadership newsletter.